Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really heavy reality, but we're also going to look at a highly structured, concrete solution. We are breaking down the operational blueprints for Operation Desert Refuge. Now, right off the bat, it is absolutely crucial to frame everything we're about to look at through one specific lens. This is not just some theoretical concept. The documentation we're examining today outlines a mission built on a fully active, approved 501c3 nonprofit status. That means it's officially recognized by both the Internal Revenue Service and the state of California. This official, legal designation is the absolute bedrock for their mission to build a 40-acre healing sanctuary for U.S. combat veterans. It's a serious plan for a truly serious problem, and today, we're going to see exactly how it works.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the veteran crisis today. Second, the 40-acre sanctuary. Third, the 3 pillars of support. Fourth, the operational roadmap. Fifth, strategic advantages in funding. And finally, how to take action.
All right, Section 1, the veteran crisis today. Let's look at the harsh reality.
22. According to the Foundation's data, every single day, 22 U.S. veterans take their own lives. I really want that to sink in for a moment. They place this staggering statistic front and center in their master plan because it highlights this urgent, absolute need for accessible support right now. It shows us that whatever safety nets are currently in place, they just aren't moving fast enough to catch these heroes in crisis.
And that builds directly into our next devastating number, over 40,000. On any given night across the U.S., tens of thousands of veterans are sleeping on the streets, completely without stable shelter. We are literally talking about the men and women who stood up for our country, now finding themselves entirely unhoused. The source material frames this massive scale of homelessness as a core structural failure. The traditional shelter models simply haven't been able to fix it.
So what's the systemic bottleneck driving all this? Well, here it is. 125. That is the average number of days it takes just to adjudicate a VA disability claim. Over 4 months. When a combat veteran is dealing with severe trauma or transition, waiting over a third of a year leaves them in absolute financial and medical limbo. This right here is exactly the gap that Operation Desert Refuge is designed to fill.
Which brings us to Section 2, a 40-acre healing sanctuary. Let's look at the immediate relief.
The blueprint lays it out perfectly. Operation Desert Refuge. It's a planned 40-acre sanctuary located out in the American Southwest. But the key phrase I want you to focus on here is Foundation-owned land. Remember that active, approved 501c3 nonprofit status we talked about at the beginning? That official designation is what allows the Foundation to own this land outright. By replacing traditional temporary shelter models with private tiny home housing on land they actually own, they protect the dignity and the autonomy of the veterans living there. They aren't just giving them a temporary bed, they are giving them a secure base of operations.
You can really see it come to life in this comprehensive master plan. Notice how the crisis metrics at the top directly inform the solutions on the bottom. It's not just a scattered approach, it is a highly organized, interconnected ecosystem. From the physical layout of the tiny homes all the way to the administrative buildings, it's designed to be a completely self-contained haven, a place where a veteran can land, stabilize, and rebuild without having to fight the bureaucracy of the outside world.
Moving to Section 3, 3 pillars of support: health, housing, and career.
So here is how those pillars actually break down. Pillar 1 is health and wellness. Because, let's be honest, you can't rebuild a life without a solid foundation of health. This means mandatory on-site mental health programming, peer-led group sessions, and direct coordination with VA medical facilities. Pillar 2 is housing stability, meaning those private, tiny home quarters we just talked about. And Pillar 3 is career and education. Now, the source notes that this pillar, which includes VA benefits navigation, resume help, and job placement, is actually built on the founder's own 25 years of professional experience and a very active employer network. They are making sure residents don't just heal, but actually have a clear pipeline back to purposeful work.
All right, Section 4, the operational roadmap, the phases of development.
Let's take a look at the timeline, because it is entirely designed for immediate forward momentum. Phase 1 launch happens incredibly fast, just days 1 through 45. That involves immediate acquisition of the 40 acres, site engineering, and dropping in the first prefab quarters. And get this, they state this initial phase requires just $60,000 in initial funding. From there, Phase 1.2 covers months 2 through 12, building out the dining hall and up to 30 resident housing units. But they aren't stopping in the Southwest. Phase 2, which spans years 2 through 4, expands this exact template to 2 additional U.S. locations. And Phase 4? That's a massive 2035 global vision aiming for 50 sanctuaries across the United States and the Five Eyes allied nations. It is a highly scalable model.
Section 5. Strategic advantages and funding. How does this stay financially sustainable?
Well, the operational flyer highlights 3 huge strategic advantages. First up, veteran-led discipline. The program is built on over 25 years of enterprise security and systems architecting experience. This ensures rigorous audit walls and serious operational accountability. Second is earned income resilience. They aren't just relying on handouts. Revenue is actually diversified through proceeds from the founder's book, Sins of Kandahar, as well as specialized training services. And third, capital efficiency. As we just saw, that Phase 1 launch cost just $60,000, which the documentation points out is significantly lower than traditional shelter models, mostly due to the low-cost differential of building in the Southwest.
Looking at their mature state revenue target mix really shows off that diversified approach. They aim to scale up to having 25 to 55% of revenue come from major donors, a group they call the Founders Circle. But look at the rest of this pie. You've got 15 to 20% from small donors, 15 to 25% from grants, and a really solid 5 to 15% from that resilient earned revenue, like the book and training sales. It is a perfectly balanced financial diet designed to reduce dependency on any single source of cash.
Finally, Section 6. How to take action. How can you engage with the mission?
They gave you 2 direct paths right here on the screen. The QR code on the left is your direct connection to the founder, Tony Ajuder. His background is super essential here. He is an IAM advisor, a Christian, an Amazon author, and most importantly for this mission, he is a combat veteran himself. He intimately understands the struggle. The QR code on the right points straight to their fundraiser to, and I quote, support a haven for our veterans' healing. They've literally made the path to engagement entirely frictionless for anyone reviewing their master plan.
So we've looked at the staggering numbers, those awful 125-day bureaucratic wait times, and we've walked through this highly structured, officially registered 501c3 solution to build a true sanctuary on Foundation-owned land. The blueprint is fully drawn. Honestly, the only piece missing from this operational flyer right now is the community's response. So based on the material we've explored today, I want to leave you with the final question the founders are asking. What role will you play in standing with those who stood for us? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.